What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Fuck. What's good, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is JustClark, and before we get started, I just want to say thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Very cliche to say that I did not expect this to achieve this milestone in such a short time. That's what I did not expect. So thank you. But anyway, today I'm gonna be taking you guys along with me studying and practicing rendering wet clothes. But anyways, without further ado, I'm just gonna explain everything, my thought process, and about everything in the speak pace. So let's get into it. Alright, so obviously we're gonna be starting off with the skin. We wanna kind of render the skin as well to be wet, you know, and there are my own methods that I use to render wet skin that I learned from obviously my favorite artist of all time, Minion Sun. Shout out. So yeah, pretty much I've been improving my skin rendering continuously. I know I've made like a couple tutorials or like videos on me rendering skin, but I've been continuously improving it. I want to make a video about that soon, but pretty much I add a lot of highlights. You want to add a lot of like light streaks and gloss on the skin to kind of give it more like a wet feel, and then also add some water because, you know, it's going to sit on top of the skin and stuff, and you want to follow the direction of where the skin is like going, or like the body part. So obviously it's more like cylindrical, so you want to add a bunch of curves there. And then for the hair, I did kind of a different thing. Like, I didn't really put too much highlights, but what I did is I added strands that stick to the face and like stick out. It's gonna be a little bit more messy, and also added a few water droplets for that, and that's how I made the hair look wet. And now for this first one, for the two-piece, I was so fucking confused. I could not do it properly. Probably because it was my first like clothes that I rendered, so I was kind of not warmed up. But pretty much I added like the skin color on a multiply layer on top, and then fixed the opacity, and then did a little gradient. And I tried adding a bunch of highlights and lightening it up, adding less contrast, but didn't really work the best. Now for the swimsuit, the music, I had tons of fun with this one. It was pretty much just, you know, redoing the skin rendering, but this time with like the color of the swimsuit, and then just adding the extra colors at the end. So yeah, I did pretty well on this because I mean, I'm used to skin rendering, you know, kind of. I'm still improving though, so don't mind that. Now for the shirt, this one, it was so much fucking fun. It had a lot of folds, so you kind of just get into a flow rendering the folds and just have a lot of fun doing it. And then I did try first like kind of cutting out or adding the skin layer, like a copy of it, but it didn't work, and so I researched it again. What I did was reduce the opacity of the base color, went back on the shadow colors, and then erased a little bit of it to kind of give it that sticking out feeling. And then next up with the sweater, it's also the same thing that I did for the skirt, which is like I just focused on making it feel like the fabric is being pulled down and it's like being weighed down. It's gonna feel heavy, and adding a lot of like folds and things stacking up on each other and all that kind of stuff, as well as for the jeans. So yeah, that's pretty much all I did, and then added a few highlights to give it a shinier feel and a wet feel without needing to add any like water renders. So yeah. And now I'm back here. Hello. So we get it started right here, and this is probably my least favorite one, and the one that I really need to work on a lot, which is the frills, especially the frills, my weakness. Oh, hate frills, pain. But yeah, I really need to work on. Maybe the lines kind of ruin the effect a little bit, but I don't know. This is something that I'll just work on in my spare time. Maybe I should have done this last. I don't know, but whatever. I'm gonna learn from it. We're gonna move on. This is my second favorite one. I really love how I delivered on the texture, on the feeling, by just adding these little subtle folds, these little subtle stretches of the fabric that gives it like this whole tight feeling. And as you can see, I did not render any water droplets compared to the hair right here. I don't need to, and I was looking at my references, and yeah, there wasn't any, but maybe I could have put it, maybe I could have not, but I feel like I still did a good job just using the highlights with this. You know, using the highlights. Also, do not mind the I don't want to get copyright, but I don't think this was the best fucking way to avoid copyright. Now this one is my favorite one. I'm really proud of this one. So basically what I did here is first I plotted out all the shadow and then reduced the opacity of the base color, went into the shadow layer and erased bits and parts of it to give this feeling of the skin sticking out, but also there's depth into it. Now this one for the skirt, because the skirt is more of an opaque object, it's a lot thicker compared to the shirt. What I pretty much did here is instead of thinking of it as either transparent or wet, I rendered it to feel heavy. Focus on that word heavy. So if we are working with the thinner, you want to render it as see-through, you want to render it as a lot more transparent. But when we're working with opaque objects like the skirt right here, and we will see later in the sweater, you want to focus on the feeling of it being heavy. And also, as I was rendering this, I was thinking of where the body sits. That's how I rendered these little shadow object thingies, which gives a feel that it's also sticking to the skin, but also it feels heavy. Right here with the sweater. Now for the jeans, I feel like I should have rendered them more like the Mizuki, where instead of actually rendering it like the sweater, I should have rendered it more like the swimsuit. But with the sweater, I'm pretty happy with it. And like I said, the sweater is a thick fabric, it's a thick material, so you want to focus more on the feeling of it being pulled down because of the water. That's what I did right here. Think layers, think stacks. But anyways, I hope you guys learned something from this video, because I learned something making this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So yeah, anyways, check out my Twitter, check out my Pixel. If you'd like to support me, check out my Patreon. All the links will be in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah.